And welcome to The Verdict again this Sunday. We're glad to see you folks back joining us again. I am pleased to have back on the set with me this week Joel Wolgemuth as my guest host. Joel, you recall, was a guest host for several shows a month or so ago. We always try on The Verdict to bring you guests that we think you're going to want to listen to and find out about what they know. And we're bringing back a guest that we had about a month ago, the Honorable Roger Stuart, district judge, now retired, who's working now for the organization called Oklahoma Lawyers for Children. We always want to hear from Judge Stuart, and we didn't get to finish last time.
Well, Judge Stuart, I've been practicing many years. I've heard your name in connection with the improvement of the juvenile court system, and I'm thrilled to be able to visit with you today. Judge Stuart is a graduate of the University of Oklahoma Law School, did his undergraduate work there, went from private practice. He's had experience in the system as an assistant district attorney, assistant attorney general, and then a juvenile judge, and ultimately a district judge who has since retired from the bench and is with the Oklahoma Lawyers for Children.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will actually get to visit with Judge Stuart. You're watching The Verdict.
One of my first experiences working in TV as a production assistant, I was like, ask me to do anything and I'll do it. I'm just here to work hard. And so I think that eagerness goes a long way. My name is Ezekiel Walker. I am a TV producer in Los Angeles, and I am Chickasaw. As a kid, I saw the opportunity behind the lens to capture great stories. And I feel as though that's my purpose in life. And really close to my heart is the stories of my own people. There's a need to represent Native Americans and minorities in a genuine way. The Chickasaw Nation started with strong ancestors. It started with survivors. I have a responsibility to not let that be in vain, but to work hard and to keep moving forward and to keep conquering.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to The Verdict. We said in our opening segment that my guest host today is Joel Wolgemuth, a partner and leader in the firm of Norman Wolgemuth in Tulsa. Joel has been a friend of mine for more years than we care to remember. He's a premier trial lawyer in the state of Oklahoma and Southwest United States. I didn't get to say that in the first segment, Joel, and I'm sorry, I wasn't meaning to slight you, but really glad to have you back.
Well, it's good to be here, Ken. Thank you.
We also have Judge Roger Stuart that Joel talked about a little bit. Anything else you want to say about Judge Stuart?
Judge Stuart, I was interested particularly in your background with respect to your service as a juvenile court judge, followed by a district court judge, which is the top level of our trial court system, and then leaving that role to go to work to continue to promote the juvenile court system. What was your, what led you to do that?
Well, I was a juvenile judge from 1995, starting in 1995 as a special judge, and I did that for 16 years. And quite frankly, when I began, I thought that my career would never survive because juvenile court wasn't thought of much at that time. Within a month of being there, I realized that it was probably the most important thing that I had done and would ever do. After 16 years, there was an opportunity for a district judgeship opened up. I thought it would be a good time for me to see what that's like, and Governor Fallon appointed me as a district judge, and I handled a civil docket. And I have to tell you that while I handled a civil docket, my mind was there, my brain was there, but my heart always was in juvenile court. And so after I retired, Lawyers for Children came to me and asked if I would help, and I really couldn't say no.
And as I understand your organization, one of your most important resources are lawyers who are otherwise in private practice, perhaps, and want to volunteer their time to assist in the system. Is that sort of the parameters of the program?
That's absolutely true, and it is a volunteer lawyer organization where lawyers offer their services pro bono to represent children in the deprived system. And the reason it's so important and the reason it was created was because public defenders in Oklahoma County normally do that. But the resources did not have the resources to properly defend children. And I think at the time there was about one public defender per 800 and something children, when the ABA recommends one attorney per 100 children max. So Lawyers for Children created this system of recruiting pro bono attorneys, and that's been over 20 years ago, and the organization has grown. It's made me proud to be a lawyer because the response from the bar has been tremendous coming to the aid of these children.
Judge, let me change the subject just a little bit and talk about juvenile court itself. If you go to the Oklahoma County Courthouse downtown in Oklahoma City, or you go to the Tulsa County Courthouse downtown Tulsa, will you find the juvenile court in either place?
No, you won't.
Where will you find each and why?
Well, in Oklahoma County, you'll find the juvenile court in Oklahoma County at 5905 North Classen Court, which is the west building of the Chesapeake complex, the one that doesn't look like Chesapeake. In Tulsa, I really don't know the address.
It's off of Gilcrease.
It's off of Gilcrease. And it was important to separate the juvenile system from the adult system. It was important to the founders of juvenile court. The reason ours is located at 5905 North Classen is because a Supreme Court justice by the name of William Berry, when he was an attorney and district judge in Oklahoma County, recognized the need to house children separate from Oklahoma County jails and separate from state institutions. And while he got no response from our county government in the 50s, he went to the legislature and he started a movement from the community, PTAs, Junior League, Kiwanis, and actually built the first house, the first receiving home for children in Oklahoma County, and we called it the Berry House, which when I was a kid, that's what you were afraid of. If you stole a car, you go to the Berry House, all right? Today it's called the Juvenile Justice Center.
Now the concept of separating the juvenile courts from the regular district courts or adult courts, that's a good phrase you used that I think is particularly applicable, is present in Oklahoma County and Tulsa County, but it isn't present in every county in Oklahoma.
No, it wouldn't necessarily be.
They simply don't have the resources, I guess, to separate.
That's right. And every county has, and some do. Canadian County, for example, its citizens saw fit to have a sales tax, impose a county sales tax to support a separate juvenile system. So it depends on the history of the county, really.
But are there real advantages to the children to be separated in that context?
I think I do. I think it is. I think it's advantageous to the entire system that it's seen as separate and apart from those things we do in civil and criminal courts, and like I say, adult courts.
Yeah.
When you mentioned that, Judge, you have, if there's a serious crime committed in the community by a child, let's say, who's 15, you can wind up being charged in district court as a juvenile and also as a youthful defender or a juvenile. Is that correct?
That's true.
Yeah, and which creates issues with respect to both rehabilitation and punishment in the system.
That's true. Somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s, we come up with a system we call the youthful offender system, which in my mind, or at least in my opinion, intermixes criminal and juvenile law, and in my opinion, harms juvenile offenders and doesn't serve the adult population very well. But that's just my opinion.
Let me ask you a related question with about 2 minutes left to go before we need to take a break. You basically out at the Juvenile Justice Center have two broad kinds of cases, delinquent cases and deprived cases. Sure. Can you tell our viewers what is the difference?
Sure. Delinquent cases are kids that commit crime, basically. Deprived cases are kids...
Or accused of committing.
Yes. Of committing crimes. Deprived cases are kids who have been abused or neglected. And what we're doing in those deprived cases is we're seeking, first of all, to protect the child, and second of all, to see if we can't mend or modify the home so that the child can be safe in his own home, and then if they can't, terminate parental rights and hopefully find permanency in an adoptive home for the children.
But in the delinquent side, there would be a punishment handed out as the judge or the law may deem appropriate for the offense if found guilty.
Well, that's part of the difference in the vocabulary of criminal court and adult court and juvenile court. The purpose of juvenile court is not to punish, although that gets muddled with the Youthful Offender Act. The purpose of juvenile court as it was founded in 1899 and as it was adopted in Oklahoma in 1910 is to rehabilitate children who commit crime. That means that we're not punishing. What we're doing is trying to provide services that will prevent them from entering into the adult system. Today we have an overcrowded criminal justice system. Everybody talks about it. Everybody talks about plans on how can we keep that numbers down, what can we do? And the answer is usually staring us right in the face. It was created in 1910. It's called juvenile court, and they're called delinquency. That's what it's for, and that's what it should continue to be.
That's a good place to take a break.
Okay.
We're visiting with the Honorable Roger Stuart, Oklahoma County District Judge retired. My co-host Joe Wolgemuth and I will be right back. You're watching The Verdict.
OU Law has a history and heritage that are unparalleled. At the University of Oklahoma College of Law, we empower our students to pursue the career of their dreams. We have the highest U.S. News ranking ever achieved by an Oklahoma law school. We are the first law school in the country to launch a college-wide digital initiative. And this year, our competition teams rank #2 in the nation. OU Law, generations of excellence, limitless possibilities.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
And welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers and my co-host Joel Wolgemuth visiting with the Honorable Roger Stuart today, a retired district judge who is a real advocate for children. We have titled this show A Better Tomorrow we're talking really about a better tomorrow for a child that perhaps isn't having a very good today. And the system that the judge has been deeply involved in over the years has tried to bring about better results for children that have done nothing wrong, but they have been wrong themselves, and the courts take cognizance of that. Joel, where do you want to go from here?
When we can't, you mentioned, and we talked earlier about the deprived system as it's integrated into the juvenile court. What type of problems does the juvenile court face, and do families face, in connection with deprived children who are in the process?
Well, as you can imagine, we're talking about children who are abused and who are neglected to begin with. They don't come to the deprived system, into that system, unless that's the issue. So first of all, we're looking at what are the issues with the parents, what led to the deprived, what led to the abusive or neglectful conduct. In general, we want to try to keep kids with their parents if that's possible. There are some things and some conduct that's so reprehensible that we do not try to reunify children. We simply terminate rights and try to find permanency somewhere else. The problems you see with the adults and the parents that we have are really the problems that we see in our society. Mental health issues, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, lack of education, poverty, and all of those things feed upon each other. In other words, a person poor because they use drugs, or do they use drugs because they're poor? They're all interconnected issues. So when we talk about things, services, state services for mental health, for example, for mental health for parents, for mental health for adults, then we're really talking about services that also impact the children of those people with mental health issues. When we talk about drug addiction, we're also talking about the children of those people who are drug addicted when they're abused or neglected and come into our court. So those are the conditions that we're trying to correct, but it's kind of after the fact. It's kind of like medics on the battlefield trying to win the war.
When a child is drawn into the system in the deprived side, is there an inclination to first try to terminate the parental rights of the parent, or first try to solve the problem so that there might be safe reunification?
The emphasis is on safe reunification. That's the emphasis. Like I said, there's some crimes, there's some things that we are not going to take a chance on the parent. But the reason that we do that, because it's not intuitive that perhaps we keep a child in a home once it's abused or neglected, but the reason that we do that is because the state doesn't make a very good parent. And because placements for some of these kids are very difficult. If we're talking about a 3-month-old child, sure, we're going to find adoptive parents. If you're talking about a 13-year-old kid, I'm not sure I wanted mine when they were 13. So the point is that a lot of times, the only way these children are going to have a family, including the siblings, their own siblings, and the studies show that they're as bonded with them sometimes and more so than their parents, is a return to their own natural home. So that's the first emphasis.
Judge, in that regard, just so we can set the environment up, I take it the child has an independent advocate, and that's what you have been developing with respect to attorneys who are willing to devote their time?
Absolutely. The child has an independent advocate, and I think Oklahoma is very fortunate in that. Oklahoma County has been fortunate in that, and we've always had public defenders to represent that child. But like I said, the need for proper representation is what created really an organization that was responsive to that, which was Lawyers for Children. So asking the legal community to come forward, step forward, and represent a child has been extremely beneficial. And I think that those pro bono lawyers, those lawyers who have done that, will tell you the same thing, that it's been beneficial to them as well.
If a lawyer is appointed to represent, I'll give you 2 situations, a 13-year-old. Does that 13-year-old have a say about what they want the lawyer to advocate on their behalf?
In Oklahoma, we have lawyers who represent the voice of the child, provided that child is old enough to have a reasonable voice. I mean, they're old enough to comprehend what's going on with them. So in Oklahoma, we have an attorney who represents their voice. Now, that seems crazy to some folks, because you say, well, what about the best interest of the child? In a juvenile court setting, we have all types of people who are advocating for the best interest of the child. We have the DA, we have the social worker, we have DHS, we have the judge, who is guided by the best interest of the child. We have CASA volunteers who are arguing best interest of the judge. What we don't have without that attorney is a voice of the child. And that's something that needs to be heard by the attorney.
What does the lawyer
By the
do?
judge.
What's the lawyer's guide or goal when the child is too young? For instance, a 1-year-old infant that's in the system, and this lawyer's representing the 1-year-old.
Well, really, then that's the fallback. There's not much they can do but represent the best interest of the child. And they do that maybe not through talking to the child because they're too young to talk, but observing their placements, talking to their foster parents, talking to the people that know the child the best, and trying to make a best interest type determination and recommendation.
I take it that the district attorney's office in Oklahoma County has involvement for the
Yes.
state of Oklahoma.
That's
And
right.
what type of services do they provide with respect to an individual case?
Well, and you're right. State of Oklahoma has an interest in its future citizens, and that's why there is a district attorney. And we're talking about balancing out three separate sets of rights. We're talking about the right of the sovereign, the country, to make sure that they have protect their citizens. We're talking about the rights of the parents to the care and custody of their children. We're talking about the rights of the child. The district attorney's office obligation is to bring these cases when they're brought to the DA's attention, and to go forward and try to seek an adjudication if the evidence merits it. They're responsible for putting the evidence on.
And is the final determination made by the juvenile court judge with respect to the disposition of the case?
It is with respect to whether or not a child is found to be abused or neglected. Now, if the state is seeking termination of parental rights, our state is one of only 7 that requires that that be a jury determination. A 6-member jury makes a determination as to whether or not to terminate parental rights. But as to the determination of whether or not a child is abused or neglected, that is a bench trial before the judge.
Judge, one thing I want to get to, because we only have a couple of minutes left, is what you're doing now for Lawyers for Children, and what are your responsibilities?
I'm really acting as a resource and a trainer, to tell you the truth. I'm looking at providing in-service assistance to the volunteer lawyers. Juvenile court's not harder than civil or criminal court, but it is different. And I'm a resource to explain those differences and the processes, et cetera.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming today and telling us about what you're doing with Lawyers for Children. We didn't spend a lot of time on it, but you're involved in all those things that we've been talking about.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Joel, anything final for about 15 seconds with the judge?
Only want to tell the judge how much I've enjoyed meeting you and what we've learned today from our questions and answers. Thank you so much.
Well, it's been a pleasure for me.
And thanks for serving the state of Oklahoma as a district judge for many years, and now continuing to serve the children of Oklahoma. It's a great service you're doing.
Thank you.
We've been visiting today with the Honorable Roger Stuart, retired, and Joel Wolgemuth and I will be back after this break to close the show. You're watching The Verdict.
There are now 11 million of us who live here and work here. I was 15 when I came here 6 years ago. I raised my family here. I drive my truck to my job every day. The only difference between now and 6 years ago, I do it legally. I wanted to. Because this is my home.
All children deserve a life of hope and love. but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
We are a very conservative family, and we believe in old-fashioned family values. We have a loving home there, and we love kids, and we have 5, 6 of our own. And but I had no idea we were going to go into adoption, but it's been very gratifying.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
Welcome back. Closing the show with my co-host Joel Wolgemuth. Good information from Judge Roger Stewart.
Kent, I think we can all agree that there's nothing any more important in our system than the juvenile court justice system. I think Oklahoma County, particularly from what we've learned from Judge Stewart, has innovative programs and lawyers who are willing to devote time, and people like Judge Stewart who can coordinate and implement reforms in the system. I think it's a tremendous subject and one of vital importance to all of us.
Well, I think it's particularly admirable that the judge would serve the state of Oklahoma for a good number of years, over 20, and then come back out of retirement and continue to serve the children, making a great contribution to a better tomorrow for these kids. There are a couple of websites I'd like to give you. If you want to be in touch with Judge Stewart and Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, the website is www.olfc.org, and we have a website ourselves that we hope you'll consult and let us know what you'd like to see on a future edition of The Verdict. It's theverdict.tv. Pleased, as I say, to have Joel join me today, and he'll be back with me next week. We will bring you another guest I think you'll be interested in hearing from. You've been watching The Verdict. Thanks for joining us.